did you know the order that you take your tablets in the day can actually stop them from working? This is one of the brilliant questions that I got last week from the cancer support group. I'll bring in the practical tips that we shared together and the other two amazing questions that have made it to my list today to share with all. I'm Zainab. I'm the pharmacist and co-founder of PillSorted, and one of the best places that I found that I can support people with their medications is the different support groups. So these are usually based around a common condition like cancer support group, Parkinson's support group, MS support group. And what it is usually it's a group of people that have become comfortable. They're at different stages of the same journey and their questions are quite honest. It's a comfortable way for them and a comfortable setting for all of them to ask useful questions. What I do is I usually start with a couple of practical pointers, and this changes, be it seasonal question or if it's a question that the group have asked about, for example, bowel movement or better sleep. And that usually opens up to my favorite part, which is the question and answers, because it's a whole person that's going through that treatment journey. So we discuss treatments, the medication, side effects is a very important one. If there's questions that I don't know, I will look it up and find the research and evidence that why is this happening, and will support to find a good framework. So is this a new niggle that you're having, a serious thing that we need to look up? Is this something that you can do something about it yourself? And the good thing is we know the language of the doctors as well, so I can support you put that into words, how to communicate it with the consultants and the doctors as well. So in this new series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly explain the group that I visited and what were the practical points that I've explained about, but most important, a couple of those questions and answers that I think will be useful for everybody else. Okay, last week I supported the Living with Cancer group, and they get together once a month in the Cambridge Cancer Support Centre, and it's a brilliant place. It's quite beautiful, very serene environment, quite green. They do a lot of different events, so there's lots of art and crafts as well as activities like Tai Chi and dancing, and the most important part is all the different support groups that come together here. So be it the urostomy group, the lymphoma group, the prostate cancer group, and the one that I had the pleasure to meet up with was the Living with Cancer group. So practical tips that I shared with them was about the heat wave and about how to store your medicine in the hot weather, also about keeping hydrated and how does the heat affect both your body, how your temperature can change, and your hydration levels. So those were the practical tips that I shared. You can see them in the video that's called Heat Wave and Medication. And then I thought I'll share the three most important questions that I think will be useful for all of us. One of the really cool questions was about the timing of medication. One that constantly comes up is levothyroxine or thyroid medication with a proton pump inhibitor like the omeprazoles, lansoprazole, pantoprazole, and a supplement like iron tablets and all of that. So does the timing of the day really make a difference in any of these? Well, the answer is yes, it does make a huge difference, especially with levothyroxine. It is one of the fussiest, I could say, of the medication. And there's two important reasons for it. One is everything in the gut can affect its absorption. So it is quite fussy about how much acid there is in your digestion. Are you taking it too close to your caffeine or your breakfast? So everything can affect its absorption. Usually we see around 60 to 80% of the absorption of the medication actually happening. So other important thing about it is we work in micrograms in it, and it is quite sensitive to the amount in your blood. So the absorption can affect this amount very fast. So these are the two reasons that the thyroid tablets are the most fussiest, and they're really important to take it first thing in the morning. That's the best way that you can get the best outcome from your thyroid tablets. Now, in regards to your omeprazoles and your lansoprazoles, the protein pump pump inhibitors. What they do is they reduce the amount of acid that your stomach creates. Now, reducing acid is an important part of breaking down the food so your body absorbs it better. So that's why it's important to have the right balance. So you want to take it the closest to your food. So if it's in the morning, you want to take thyroid first thing in the morning and take omeprazole right before breakfast or right before dinner. Some people need to take it twice a day, but the closest that you take it to your food, it will have the better effect. So that's how it reduces your acid. You don't want to take it too close to the supplements either, because if you are anemic and you've been told to take iron, you want to take the iron after food and partner it with vitamin C. So that can be in the shape of orange juice, it can be in the shape of vitamin C effervescent tablets, but this partnering will really affect the absorption of the iron and make it more. Now, there were discussions about other medications as well, like for example the anastrozole, the tamoxifen. In general, not all of the medicines are sensitive, so what's important about the anastrozole or the tamoxifen is actually consistency. So taking it every day is more important to what time in the day that you take it. So a lot of the blood pressure medication fall into this bucket as well. But thyroid, timing is really important. Omeprazole, timing is important. Supplements, not taking it too close to the others or after food and partnering it is a good thing. The second question was about how do I store medicine, especially liquids versus tablets and capsules, okay? And that came up actually around the practical tips, usually around the heat waves as well. So usually having a medicine cabinet is important, and the two important things that you want about a medicine cabinet is not to be close to where people can inadvertently touch, especially children, okay? So you do want to keep it away from children. Some of these packagings are quite colorful. The other important thing is not too humid, not too hot. So if you want to keep it in a bathroom cupboard, it's fine as long as it is well ventilated and there's an airflow going. Sometimes, for example, in care homes, there are huge medicine cupboards. Again, ventilation is an important thing. So having enough airflow to keep that temperature down is important. But genuinely, tablets are much stronger. They will stay intact for longer in different heat temperatures versus liquid. A good rule of thumb about liquids is if you've opened it and you're using it, keep it in the fridge, okay? That will ensure that it's ready for your next use, especially if it's an oral liquid. You don't want to keep a oral liquid for too long, so have an understanding of when you roughly opened it. For example, when you're a mother of young children that you go through so many Nurofen or Calpols, that doesn't really matter that much. But if it's a liquid that you don't use too often, you don't want it to be used and opened and kept, for too long, so over 6 months. Usually they will have guidelines in the information leaflet, so read that, okay? And pill organizer. So that was a very interesting question that came up as well. So which tablets can make it into the pouches and doses and which don't? When we do a clinical assessment to ensure the ones that we put in the pouches and the MDSs are safe to do so, we go through the guidelines of the manufacturer under the SPC to make sure that it's right, as well as a risk assessment. So if, for example, the patient doesn't have their medication in a pouch, are they going to remember to take it? Okay, so these are important things that come up. But the other thing is some tablets are quite hygroscopic, so when with the other medication, they start affecting other ones. So again, these are the important things that we look at. There's a lot of clinical guidelines that we can follow and make sure that they're safe or not. For yourselves, what you can keep an eye out for, if you look at the pouches or the doses and you feel that they've got stuck together, that's the time that you want to report it and not use them. One question was about the cod liver oil tablets or the soft capsules. Basically, these can sometimes melt faster than the hard capsules, but a good rule of thumb is shake them. If they shake well, it makes it separate. If you're keeping it in a well ventilated area, there's nothing to worry about, okay? What you don't want to happen, it becomes too hot or they form clumps. That medicine is not good to use. And for the injections we talked about, if there is a change of coloration or you see any sort of particles, that's the time that you shouldn't use that injection and get a new one. And the third question that was interesting, how do I differentiate if something does come up on my skin? Is it an insect bite or is it a side effect of the chemotherapy? or is it a sun sensitivity and an allergic reaction? Okay, how do I differentiate and what do I do? First of all, if it's something new that has come after a new treatment for the chemotherapy, it's definitely worth discussing this with your cancer team. Okay, so don't be shy, ask them as well so they can give you better advice. So this treatment might bring this side effect on your skin, or this sensitivity. So it's always worth checking that. Okay, now what can you do? It's really good to go out and get some some sunshine, fresh air, but make sure you wear proper sun cream and a big hat, okay, so that you protect all of your skin. And if the rashes have got a middle node in them, okay, so that's the bite center or the sting center, that's usually a good way to differentiate this is a sting or a bite. Stings and bites usually get better within 2-3 days, so they will be worse at the beginning and will get better, whereas if it's a rash or a chemo side effect, they will constantly get worse. Okay, and a good barrier cream is always absolutely fine to use. Things like Sudocrem, like Savlon, they actually protect it from getting worse, and in either of these situations it's not a bad idea to use. So especially heat rashes might come up as well, so barrier creams are generally safe. As a recap, you want to keep your medications in cool and dry places. If it's the heat, well ventilated. If there's anything come up on your skin that you're not sure of and you see it's getting worse, definitely get it checked. For your medications, if you've got any question about which one to take first, which one to take next, feel free to reach out to us, subscribe to our channels. If you find these useful, again, reach out to us and we can support you in smaller groups, even if it's about pregnancy and breastfeeding and anything basically. Thank you.